Well, joining me now live in our Lagos studio to discuss this development and much more, I have the Secretary of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Lagos State Council. Good to have you on the breakfast show today. It's a pleasure having you at this point in time. Now, the biggest challenge we have in Nigeria is the back and forth we've had in terms of a sustainable pricing model, which is cost reflective but also understands the pocket of the average Nigerian. What do you make of this latest development, the new twist we had? The reports flew around that there was an increment, and then the NERC came to debunk it that it's not a 50% increase and a whole lot more. What do you make of the back and forth so far we had in the last few days?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that it is very unfortunate that this is what the present administration have to give to Nigerians as a New Year gift. I'm saying this because we all know what Nigerians have been going through, particularly from 2020 up to this very moment. I think from the point of the organized labor, we are very, very disappointed in the federal government, and disappointed in the sense that there is a committee on ground that is actually trying to iron out and to fashion out a way forward on this issue. Like you rightly said, instead of the back and forth, what we are looking for is an holistic solution to the power challenges we have in the country. But I think what we've experienced recently is a government that cannot be trusted. Cannot be trusted in the sense that if you notice, a committee is in place trying to put in a solution to the problem. Somebody else is busy there adjusting, what is it called, the tariff, claiming that it is in line with the inflationary trend and as a result of the exchange rate. I want to say here that, you know, due to the timing and the sensitivity of this issue, it is expected that people should show empathy to Nigerians. And I think that is what is actually missing.
Well, the business of power generation, distribution and transmission does not necessarily understand sentiments. That's the body language of government, that we have to have cost-reflective tariffs to ensure that Nigerians have better power supply. Do you understand that?
Yes. I think the issue we should be discussing is, are Nigerians getting the value for what they are paying?
What sort of engagement do you now expect to push forward this particular agenda? Because we look at the current infrastructure we have in place, and then we have the power authorities say, well, we'll have better power supply. But you look at the infrastructure, they are the same old same we've had over time. We are not having necessarily new investments or maintenance structure to improve the power generation, transmission and distribution. So how then do they meet up with this promise of better power supply if it's still the same old story of the state of things?
Let me put the record straight. I think around November, we had a meeting. Myself, personally, I was in that meeting at the Eco Hotel, where you have the Minister for State for Power. He was there. The current Minister for Labor State, that's the person of Festus Keyamo, was the mediator between the organized labor and the discos. So certain issues were actually outlined at that meeting. And me personally, I raised some concerns. And one is that, there's this thing they call MITO,
yes,
where they tell you the multi-year tariff order that gives them the power to adjust electricity tariff in line with inflationary trend. And the question we asked is, why that? They said gas is not cheap, that they have to pay for gas, and they pay in dollars. So the question is, why the dollarization of gas, a gas that Nigeria produces?
Well, now it's no longer in dollars, it's in naira.
No, as at that meeting, the stakeholders couldn't even answer this question, that why do you have to pay them in dollars? So it is left for them to come out and tell us they are now paying in naira. But that's not even the issue. I'm trying to look at it from the angle of an average Nigerian. For example, when the minimum wage was negotiated, it was negotiated at 360 naira to $1. So the question now is, what is the present exchange rate? Are you also telling the organized labor to come back and ask for more? Because the truth is, this thing is also an issue of the law. So if we are to go by what the law says, they are saying it is what is in the law, that they have the right to adjust, I think, twice in a year. So what we are saying from our own angle is that apart from we need the political class to actually shed weight. I think they are not willing to shed weight. Once there are anything that has to do with the economy, they push the whole responsibility back on the average Nigerian, and I think that is too much for Nigerians to carry at this particular time.
Abiodun, in wrapping up our conversation at this point in time, how critical is it that we have the metering gap closed? Because when we talk about improving the current infrastructure base and also have cost-reflective tariff, we have to have proper pricing and monitoring. Yeah. Now, for the average Nigerian who uses a meter and loads 5,000, like I would every 2 weeks, that's about 97 units. Yeah. Estimated billing is still the reality on ground. And even for the 97 units I have, there was a time it was about 113 units after the first revision. But prior to all of this revision, 5,000 would give me over 213 units. So it's quite a sharp cut. Now, what do you expect in terms of bridging the metering gap? Let's first sanitize the market within that regard before we can now say, okay, this is the pricing we should have per kilowatt per hour.
Yeah, I think to answer your question, there's this thing we observed. You know, the federal government under its nationwide metering system promised to dish out about 6 million meters within 18 to 22 months or thereabout. And if you notice, there are stages. Apart from the manufacturing of those meters must be certified by NERC. And I think that's one critical agency that have been missing in this whole process that we've been talking about. And at that meeting I told you we had in November, NERC said that if your meter, that every certified meter must carry a red and a green seal. If your meter don't have it, they said if you are using prepaid, you are as worse as somebody who is on estimated billing. So going back to your question, the only way we can bridge this metering gap is to ensure that there is sincerity on the part of the government. A deadline has been set. This is January 2021. The question now is, have they even started rolling out those meters? And the truth is, those meters must not be rolled out if those meters are not certified by NERC. And I think a lot of meters out there that you see, they don't have this red or green seal. So it means Nigerians must also go back and confirm, because if not, you are worse off than somebody who is on estimated billing. And going on the issue of estimated billing, like where I stay, I think the month before they gave us 23,000. The last bill they gave me is 63,000. Wow. So I was like, you know, it's ridiculous. We have staffs here who pay as much as 30,000, 40,000. And I think where the problem is, the discos must ensure that everybody that consumes electricity pay for it. There is a lot of wastages. We know there is a lot of leakages in the system. That is where they should focus more on. Because the general belief that certain areas are not paying, certain areas are paying, I don't think that is true.
What new conversations are labor groups bringing to the table now in terms of addressing this situation? First, we have bottlenecks to access meters, and then we have challenges in even dealing with the estimated billing. Some would say, well, I would just pay a portion of the fee, and then whatever is left has to just be dealt with by whosoever generated those bills. What sort of conversation do you expect we would have this year now to have all of this backlog treated, and then we can make some progress ahead? These years we've had in terms of the privatization of the power sector, and estimated billing should not be a conversation now at all.
Yeah, I agree with you that estimated billing should not even be a conversation at this particular time. Even the issue of power supply should not even be a discussion for a country that is even 60 years. I think it's very unfortunate we have to go down this era. But from the side of the organized labor, every option is still on the table. And I think if I'm to get the Minister for Labor, State Rights, which is Festus Keyamo, in his program, I think on the live program on channels, he said the committee will be having a meeting. And that committee is made up of both labor and all the critical stakeholders. Said they will be going back to have a conversation. And I want to believe that there is no way you'll be having a meaningful conversation when the other party is not sincere with that conversation. And I think that is where we are going to have issue with this government, because times without number, they have demonstrated to Nigerians that this present administration cannot be trusted. And like I said, all options are on the table. We weigh our options very well. And I want to assure Nigerians that what we are going to do is going to be in the general interest of the people.
Sincerity of purpose, transparency, government after government, we just have to consolidate on the efforts of the past, but we cannot just blame one single entity for the lull and then the lack we've seen in the sector. Thank you very much for your time on the breakfast show today. Abiodun Aladito, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. He's the Secretary of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Lagos State Council.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome.